Good evening, everybody. How are we doing for this Around the Ropes YouTube exclusive? Now, if you guys have been watching our show for a while, you guys know we've had on a lot of the ring announcers between the states of New York and New Jersey. Obviously, one of them is our own co-host, Ryan Peterson. Others have included Mike Falvo, Rich Reed. The list goes on and on. But the guy who's joining us right now is somebody who I've been wanting to get on for a while, since we've been going on this whole list of trying to get on every ring announcer. He works for various promotions, including Titan, American X, House of Glory, you name it, he's there. The one, the only, Mr. David Adams, making his debut on the Around the Ropes podcast tonight. How you doing tonight, sir?
All right, David Adams here. I'm doing great, brother. Thank you for having me on the Around the Ropes podcast. We've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm glad that we met up in Hamburg and we set this up. So thank you for the opportunity and the platform.
Oh, it's my pleasure. But let's get actually going because that's one of the promotions that you actually work with. What was it like coming back for that night with the American X? I know it was their first show back in a couple of years.
It was great. I had gotten a message from Jared a couple of weeks prior. They were saying that they were transitioning from Outbreak back to American X Wrestling, and they wanted to go back to the original old school vibe. And I was the original American X Wrestling ring announcer from 6-7 years ago. And that Hamburg Fieldhouse is a real special place. I mean, I watched tons of like VHS events for WWF territory days and stuff. And it's just a cool venue. I loved how they brought back the feel of the bad guys come out of one locker room and the good guys come out of the other locker room, heels and faces for those that have a little bit more of the knowledge of it. And it's cool. I mean, it's just a real old school vibe. Kevin Kelly's on board, and that was his thought process. Let's bring back the old school vibes of this historic venue. And I mean, they said the ticket count was over 500 fans, and I've announced in that building with 100 fans. I've announced in that building when only 15 fans showed up when there was a hurricane, but they didn't want to cancel the show. So, we did it in front of ourselves basically. And to have 500 plus people packing that venue, a very budget friendly atmosphere, bleacher seats, $5. You could get second row. You could get a 4-pack of second row seats that came with vouchers for your whole family to have hot dogs and sodas for like $60. I mean, in this day and age with inflation, I mean, they have it down. It's family friendly. It's budget friendly. And the wrestling was phenomenal. I enjoyed my experience.
Oh, yeah. And it was actually my first time there in that field house. And when I walked in, the first thing I said to one of the guys I was with was, I have old school vibes right now. Like I have that old school, like Ric Flair, NWA type vibes.
Yeah.
And it was definitely an interesting show. It was also interesting for the fact of where our table was, because we actually had a table that night. And folks, if I tell you that I didn't plan for us to be literally dead center of everything, it just worked out that way. But I totally agree. I thought the atmosphere was great. One of the guys I know I want to get in with you from that show was John Schuyler, who made some
pretty intense.
Yeah, he pissed off a few people that day.
Yeah, and he made me piss my pants. I'm the dude. I mean, this dude is wielding a chain. This guy is unhinged. This guy puts his hands on Kevin Kelly. I mean, this guy was already coming off of a suspension. Yeah, he's pretty sadistic. I'll gladly stay professional and I'll always announce him when he comes to the ring. But yeah, I'm gonna get the hell out of the ring and let him do his thing because people are paying to see him kick butt. They ain't paying to see me announce him. So yeah, he's quite the performer in a good way and a bad way. I mean, there is a certain type of positive vibe that you get from somebody that is that intimidating because people want to see what he's going to do next. And I think he knows that, but he also has to know that there's rules and there's protocol and guidelines. And I mean, he's given AXW no choice here because, I mean, he's a potential moneymaker. He's the guy that can put asses in seats, but if you start putting your hands on authoritative figures and stuff, I mean, you're not going to last very long at any company.
No, I don't care if you're WWE, AEW. The second you put your hands on an official, you already pretty much wrote your ticket out of the company.
Yeah.
But I mean, with him, what I also liked with him that day is I know because his table was right next to where we were.
Yeah.
He didn't come back out again until everything was done. And I was like, wow, this guy, it's very rare that I've learned, being a part of this industry, that you see people who stick to who they are, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, this guy isn't playing a bad guy. This guy's a bad mofo. I mean, he's legit, and there's a reason why they want to book him on the card. But I mean, with the rules, and I don't know what his fate is going to be at AXW. I don't know what lies for his future, but certainly we'll have to show up on February the 18th at the storied Hamburg Fieldhouse. Tickets starting at just $5 if I didn't already mention that. And it's a pretty good deal. And let me tell you something. I've been to a lot of indie shows. This place by intermission. I've been to shows where they sold out of food and drink before the end of the night. This place sold out of food and drink by intermission. They came to me like, we have nothing left to sell. We don't have Gatorade. We don't have water. We brought plenty in. We sold it all. So the fans came with money. And there's something to be said about if you don't charge a lot for the tickets at the door, they're going to bring money and spend it on other stuff. So, yeah, make sure you get your food and drink before intermission, because I know I was a little thirsty and I couldn't even get a Gatorade at the second half. So, yeah, kudos to our loyal fan base in a tight economy, definitely making AXW a company to talk about in 2023 and beyond.
And especially the fact with at the next show, there's actually going to be some big names who are going to be there.
It's going to be good. Bullet Club's going to be represented in the house. You saw that announcement. Why don't you tell them? I don't want to take over your podcast.
Hikuleo will be there. Earl Hebner will be there. Notorious Mimi, I know, will be on the show. I think she will be there, and she'll also be on the show, if I remember correctly.
The redneck chick, Izzy McCoy, who was victorious in that arm wrestling battle against Corey Cross after she defeated two jabronis from the crowd. She goes and takes him on. And I mean, this guy jacked the women's championship. Something tells me that if he shows up with that women's title, and they got two women in the ring, Corey Cross better watch his butt. But yeah, it could be good.
And also, folks, they also announced that Hikuleo, I think, is also doing ringside photos.
Yeah, a $10 photo op by the house photographer. As many people as you want in the photo for $10 total. And the money goes to, I believe, the Children's Cancer Research Foundation. I mean, yes. I'm actually going to ask my wife. I'll give $10 for that, and we can get a cool ringside photo with him as well. That'll be awesome to get a little going on and stuff like that.
And
yeah. I love when they use their skill set and then the money goes to a more than well-worthy cause.
Oh, I totally agree. And especially with the fact that Hikuleo is 6'8". You can fit enough people in there and still it's still get enough people. But definitely, folks, go check them out. Go check out American X. They are great guys there. Definitely want to give them a shout out. But another company that you work with is another company who I happen to have been to their 3-year anniversary show recently. And that was Titan.
Yeah, Titan Championship Wrestling Monsoon. That's the every year. That's the storied anniversary name. Monsoon, the name itself, started as a rib many years ago. One of the co-owners, Charles DeLutri, we would always call him Monsoon, like Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah,
name kind of stuck, and that was even when we were all part of SWF before Titan branded off on its own. And then that name Monsoon just kind of stuck, and they used it as the anniversary name. So there's a little quick tidbit of information for anybody, the little behind the scenes information. But yeah, I'd like to know, what was your feedback? Did you enjoy your experience at Titan?
Oh, I loved it. I loved, and you're gonna laugh, that my favorite match actually I had two favorite matches. It was the main event of Rick Recon and Anthony Gangone. And the other one's actually one that may surprise people. Give me Blaze Haram and Steve Off any day of the week.
Yeah, Blaze Haram and Steve Off. They were put in that spot where they opened up the second half, and this brand new Mob Fi TV American Championship. For many people that are not familiar with the Titan brand, Titan Championship Wrestling, you can see all of their events for free, usually within a couple weeks after the live event. We have there's a free app that you can download on your mobile devices called MobFi TV, MOBFI-TV. You go on your Android or your iPhone. It's totally free. You can do it on your computer. And you bring it up, and there's all kinds of like independent television on there. But if you go to like sports, I believe it's under entertainment as well, you'll see Titan, Goddesses of War, the all-female brand that's being relaunched in a couple weeks, actually, and also Funhouse Wrestling, which is another sub-brand within the culture of Titan Championship Wrestling. You can see all the events for free. They got Monsoon up there within 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes a month and a half, depending on the editing guy's schedule. But they got Monsoon up there within a week after the live event. So if you haven't seen it and you want to see what all the buzz is about, check it out at Mobfi TV. Once again, free to download the app. And yeah, Blaze Haram and Steve Off, 2 ring veterans that brought it. Blaze Haram used to be the hardcore champion. He said no one was at his level in the hardcore division. So at Mount Olympus back in November, he took the title and he threw it in the garbage. And he's like, no, I don't want this title. A couple months went by. He picked up some singles wins and kept doing his thing. We didn't hear anything. But then we had Mikey and Marcus from Mobfi TV introduce this title during a press conference on Facebook Live. You can see that press conference on our Titan Championship Wrestling Facebook page. And this title is beautiful. And basically, they had a presentation to Blaze Haram. Blaze Haram, as it turns out, made a deal with them where he was trading in his hardcore title for the Mobfi TV American Championship, but he renamed it the Mobfi TV Arabian Championship. So him and Steve Off had a good battle, and Steve Off got first dibs at a crack at it, but it was Blaze Haram with a little help from his Black Dragon stablemate, Rick Recon, picking up the victory. The referee was focused on the shoulders and didn't see that Recon was holding Steve Off's feet on the ropes for extra leverage. So maybe a rematch down the line, maybe not.
Oh, well, all I know is this. The other part also was how many of them tried to do a move off the top rope and were afraid they were going to hit their heads on the ceiling.
Well, it was funny, yeah, because I was thinking the high flyers were going to do it, but it was actually a move with the big guys. I think it was during the 5-way match to determine the number 1 contender to that Mobfi Championship. Ironically enough, one of those ceiling tiles definitely came down, and that's why there's a security deposit on the building. You take a couple bucks out, you shake hands, you make nice with the venue. They know what they're getting into when they rent us that building. It's already got low ceilings. Titan is blessed enough that we have the tall boy posts for regular venues, and we have the low boy posts for buildings like that. And even with the low boy post that positions the ring maybe 2.5, 3 feet off the ground instead of like 4 or 5 feet off the ground. Even with the low boys, yeah, it was definitely, some of the athletes were definitely working their skill sets to not hit the top rope. A lot of the high flyers that normally go off the top rope for cross bodies were doing it from the second buckle. It's all about the word professional wrestling. If you're a professional, you'll find a way to make it work throughout any kind of obstacles that are thrown at you.
Well, it's safe to say that one tile did take a bump that night.
It was just one, though. One.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
One bump.
Yeah. But no, I mean, overall, I mean, it was a phenomenal experience. And I mean, I'm coming all the way out from Long Island, and I made the trip down.
Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah, I mean, and if the fans are new to it, if you like women's wrestling, at the same venue, the Brick Township VFW in Brick Township, New Jersey, I believe the date is February 25th. It's D65 Promotions run by Kevin Nasta. Kevin Nasta has been put in charge of relaunching the Goddesses of War brand and all women's brand of wrestling. And there's going to be a 16 goddess tournament. And originally, we were going to have the Goddesses Championship defended as well. But unfortunately, Adina Steele at another promotion, she's a battler and she fractured her clavicle, her collarbone. So she's going to be out of that action for, undisclosed amount of time. And of course, everyone at Titan Championship Wrestling wishes her a speedy recovery. But the show must go on as it is in pro wrestling. And she was stripped of the title because we still have a business to run. And Kevin Nasta said now this D365 Cup tournament, 16 goddesses, and the winner will now walk out of Brick Township, New Jersey, the brand new Goddesses of War champion. Plus, we're going to have 2 people that have been showcased on television. AEW standout Nyla Rose and former NXT standout Notorious Mimi going one-on-one as well in a non-tournament match. So, I mean, this is pretty good stuff. I mean, this is going to be a strictly all-female card. I'm not booked on the card. My broadcast colleague, Alphonse Stevens, isn't booked on the card. They have a female ring announcer, an all-female broadcast team. They're doing it legit the way that they want to do it. They want to keep it all women, women's revolution. The strength in women's pro wrestling has never been stronger. And this relaunch could really be something that puts Goddesses of War, sets them aside from everybody else and really makes them utilize that platform to keep the world buzzing about what Goddesses of War is all about.
Oh, and absolutely. And folks, if you want to go back, we've actually had a couple of interviews recently where we've had on Kevin Nasta, we've had on Amanda, the Amazon. Actually, Amanda was on our live show that we do every Tuesday night. And we actually just had Kimmy Sokol on, who's going to be doing commentary for that show. So definitely, folks, if you want to go check that out, you can go right over to our YouTube page. We have all those videos up there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they actually took the video that we did with Kevin, and it's actually up on Goddesses and Titans Facebook page as well.
Yeah. It should be a very good event. If you want to support pro wrestling, support women's wrestling, check that out. Titan-championshipwrestling.com for tickets.
Yeah, I don't know. I totally, and folks, definitely with who's going to be in this tournament, with all the names of people like Christina Marie, JC Storm, I obviously mentioned before Amanda the Amazon, go down the list, Tara Calloway, you name it, you're not going to want to miss this event. But David, I want to actually get into what got you into being a ring announcer. So what got you? What was your first moment into pro wrestling? Let me put it that way.
Well, I mean, it starts as young as like 5 years old, and other people who've seen me on other podcasts, I mean, it's always been the same. When I was like 5, I mean, I'm watching Superstars of Wrestling Saturday mornings. I'm not really watching cartoons. I'm watching Howard Finkel in the middle of the ring. I'm watching the Superstars beat up these nobody guys in what we call squash matches or enhancement matches. And I just love the look of Howard Finkel. He was, he had the tuxedo. He had the voice. He had the confidence. And I just remember as a kid, I would grab hairbrushes and shampoo bottles. And I remember setting up like teddy bears and any stuffed animals I had as like a crowd. And I was always trying to yell over the announcer. I remember living in an apartment as a kid, and you could hear the neighbors banging on the walls because I was probably being too loud at like 9 o'clock in the morning. But I mean, that's really what I enjoyed it. And I always envisioned I would love to be a wrestler. And I did attempt to be an amateur wrestler in high school. There was probably people that were worse than me, but there were certainly millions of people better than me. I wasn't that good. I mean, I wrestled all 4 years, and I was on the JV squad pretty much the whole time. And as a reward, I got 2 varsity matches my senior year. I got to, I could say I'm a varsity letterman. I mean, but I'm not an athlete. I mean, I enjoyed wrestling. My coach was realistic with me. I wanted to make varsity, and it just wasn't going to happen. I got beat. They gave me an opportunity to like fight for it, and I got butt kicked. But I won. I went 1-1 on varsity. My one win came by way of forfeit because the other team didn't have somebody in my weight class, so I got the win. And then the other match, there's something called technical fall. I basically got thrown around like a rag doll for 6 minutes while this short, stocky guy that ended up placing like 3rd in the state just put me on my shoulders for 6 minutes, and I lost like 18-3. And I think my 3 points were because he was so annoyed he kept letting me go for the escape. But I wouldn't get pinned. Basically, I wanted to prove I could go the distance. And I never remember being so blown up in my entire life after getting ragdolled by this guy for 6 minutes. But then my coach comes over to me, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, coach." He goes, "Why are you sorry?" He goes, "You didn't get pinned. You only gave up 5 points. You didn't give up 6 points for the team." He goes, "You busted your ass." And then he told me the realest thing that anybody's ever told me when it came to that. He goes, "I wish I had 100 guys with your heart, but I wish you had the athletic ability of my state champions." So it was like, wrestling's always been up here. I'm Einstein, but then the muscles come out, and I'm like a string bean. So yeah, I mean, so I've learned over the years, hey, if I want to be in this business, be in the professional, I always wanted to be the announcer. And I was like, all right, it's not going to happen with these little pythons, brother. But yeah, I'll use my knowledge up here and make myself useful in other aspects. And I mean, I just celebrated my 12-year anniversary, and I mean, a lot of talent have told me that they appreciate all the work I do for them to help get them over, tell the story, I get a little crazy on commentary sometimes, and people like my ring announcing. So, I mean, I found a way to stay relevant in wrestling without. And the reality is that I'm a shitty wrestler. I don't know if I can swear, but yeah, David Adams.
You can swear.
There you go. You can have that moment marked in time forever. I said it.
But obviously, like I said before, I've met a lot of ring announcers. And the one thing I give you guys a lot of credit for, and I said it to Ryan Peterson, I said it to Rich Reed, I'll go down the list of all the ones we've had. I feel like you guys become the most underrated part of a wrestling match. Because
I like that though.
Because essentially, the way I look at it, you guys are there to set everything up.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, well, it's like, you have to, all you're really doing is introducing them, but it's like, okay, for the people who may not know, it's like, okay, well, this is who this guy is, and this is who this guy is. Okay, good. And then if they're good enough wrestlers, they tell the story from there. So I want to say that to you because I said it to all the other ring announcers who I've met in the last year and a half.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. And I like that you said we're the underrated part, because we're not there to overshadow the wrestlers. Like you just said, most fans are not paying to see the ring announcer. I've been given great compliments by fans because I know they're there to see the legends, and they're there to see these hungry, athletes that are just putting their bodies on the line. And the best compliment I ever got was that fans will buy general admission tickets and they will pick seats that are closest to the commentary table so that they can hear us while they're watching the visual in the ring, because they said it adds like a movie effect where we're the narrator. They don't have to look at us, and they might turn around once or twice to wave, but for the most part, their heads are focused in the ring. They can hear us, and it enhances their experience that they paid $20 for or whatever they paid for a ticket that night. And to me, that was cool as shit. I'm like, this means the fans get it, and I'm doing my job properly, and I'm not taking away from their experience, making it all about me. But they go home and they're like, yeah, that was really good. And I've been told by people, like when I go to other shows, I don't have as good of a time. I enjoy the wrestling, but when I hear you, I know I'm going to have a great time. So I'm like, that's pretty cool too. So yeah.
No, and I totally, like I said, I've met a lot of ring announcers. I've seen a lot of ring announcers in action, and I'm even missing the ones that are out by me out here on Long Island with like Full Faith Wrestling and all them. And I commend you guys for what you guys do, especially when it's the heart of the summer and you can't walk in there in shorts and a t-shirt and you're sweating your ass off. So I have to commend you guys for that.
Well, luckily, as you put some years in the business and you do outdoor summer shows, if you talk to the promoter the right way, you can usually adjust your wardrobe accordingly. Because ask Ryan, me and him have worked summer shows. There's no way that we're sweating in suits, man, because I don't know if were you at the Legends of Hamburg convention in July?
No, I wasn't.
I was the MC along with Destiny. We were co-MCs of this, and I decided, people were like, dude, you don't got to wear the suit. And I was like, I want to look good. I had this sequin jacket. I wore the button up. I didn't wear a tie, but let me tell you, I was so hot in that building, and I ended up getting like heat stroke. And I told Jared, I was like, I asked him for my envelope, and I just took off early. And my wife, we put the air conditioner on, and I was like, so in the summertime, listen to other announcers. Yeah, don't be dumb. Don't wear the suit if you don't have to, because the whole time they're like, dude, you can wear like short sleeves. You can wear shorts if you want. And I just wanted to be David Adams, but
and
convention shows up there in September. Luckily, it'll be a little cooler, but I think I've also learned my lesson, and I'll tone it down a little bit. So depending on the atmosphere, you can definitely I've announced in shorts. I've announced if you make it like American Spirit's one of our shows, I can wear like a red, white, and blue wife beater type shirt with shorts on. As long as it goes with the flow, put the fanny pack on, keep a cold water in there. Yeah, you guys gotta dress for success and also dress to survive sometimes too.
I totally get what you're saying. And another promotion I know you work very closely with is House of Glory here in New York. They're one promotion that I look at them and I go, when all of a sudden they announce who they have, I'm sitting there going, wow. Their former tag team champions have been actually talked about a lot lately right now in the wrestling world.
Yeah.
What's your fondest memory working with the Briscoes?
I mean, everybody knows they're great in the ring. Just my fondest memory is the stuff the fans don't see. Just backstage, cool, chill, down to earth guys. These big name dudes that they're just dudes that you would go have a beer with. Just cool guys, and to lose Jay, I mean, there's no words for it. I mean, when House of Glory returns in a couple weeks, I'm sure they're going to do something to honor Jay's memory. It's yeah. I don't really want to talk about it too much, but it's more like a year that I was blessed to announce these guys their whole House of Glory tag team title reign that was pretty much most of 2022. They faced some amazing teams. Their most recent appearance there was in December. You never know in this world, and that's when they took on the homegrown team of Main Event, and yeah, like I said, they just good dudes. They brought their whole families with them, all the kids, and yeah, I'm just it's a horrible loss for the wrestling community, and my condolences go out to their family and loved ones, and all the wrestlers that work with them for 20 plus years. I mean, I'm just this lucky ring announcer that's known them for a very short period of time in comparison to some of these legends that they not only did they work with them, but they rose on the ranks of professional wrestling with them, working against them, putting their craft out there. And I mean, I don't think anybody will argue with me that the Briscoe Brothers, top 3 tag teams in the world, no doubt about it.
No.
Top 3, you put them, dude. Inside, I'm ringing the bell. I'm watching the action from 8-10 feet away. Their timing, their confidence, the precision. Yeah, I mean, tag team wrestling is a whole different art form, and one of my highlights every show, not just ring announcing for them, because obviously I'm in a blessed position where that's a great job, but just getting to have a front row seat in front of the guardrail to watch them hone in on their craft that they love doing so much, and just the way that the fans respond to them, the way that the locker room talent responds to them, and they know how to handle it, and Jay's gonna go down as one of the greatest all time, and Mark, as we're filming this, Mark's gonna be wrestling against Mr. Lethal tonight on AEW. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of emotions pouring in for that, and the world and the wrestling world's gonna watch it, and everybody's gonna claim tomorrow that they were cutting up onions, they weren't crying, but I assure you, you'll be crying a little. And yeah, I mean, it's really all I want to say about that. It's a horrible loss, and watch the Briscoe Brothers matches, watch the DVDs, go on YouTube, just watch some of their greatest matches and enjoy the craft that they've put on for the fans for 20 plus years. And I can't wait to see, Mark Briscoe's going to be in the ring. He's going to channel those emotions, and he's going to honor his brother with class and style, like always.
Oh yeah, no, and I totally agree. And the last thing let's just say the Briscoes before, and we'll move on from this. To me, probably my favorite rivalry they had was their most recent one with FTR.
Yeah, I mean, that the fact that wasn't on network television, that's a damn shame right there. But yeah, I could watch those guys wrestle every week. Like that right there. When I talk about precision, and there you go, FTR, they're right there in the top 3 tag teams in the world. I'm not even say, oh, the Briscoes were one of the best tag teams. The Briscoes are one of the best tag teams, and their legacy is going to live on for generations because they just had a connection with the fans, like FTR has a connection with the fans. Once they were utilized properly, FTR became one of the greatest tag teams that everybody knew they were destined to be, not just WWE superstars. These guys are global superstars now, and any promotion's lucky to have them. Yeah.
I totally agree with what you're saying. Got a couple last questions here. In your career of being a ring announcer, is there one guy that you've announced for that you pinch yourself on that it's like, holy crap, I can't believe I announced for this guy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not big on the name dropping because once you get to a certain level of professionalism in this business, when I first started and I got to announce names, I would mark out and be like, hey, but now it's kind of like, if you want to make it in this business, like I'm going to make it in this business, you have to act like you've been there before. It's like, kid, act like you've been to the big leagues. But yeah, I mean, I have to say, I got to announce Ric Flair before. Absolutely. One of the greatest honors. He wasn't wrestling. I announced him to the ring. I gave him one of the best intros. I ripped it open for him, and I I was doing commentary with Sam Roberts at the time, and I didn't hear what Ric Flair had said. But Ric Flair, I believe he said, "Hey, man, I got to bring you on tour with me." That was the ongoing joke. I was like, man, I wouldn't be able to last one night on the road drinking with Ric Flair, man. Done. I'd be having one Zima, and I'd be passing out by 9 o'clock. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, match-wise, I did get to, for one weekend, I got to be the local house announcer for some Impact Wrestling tapings, and two of those nights were at the ECW Arena, or the 2300 Arena. And the main event on night one was Tommy Dreamer versus Rob Van Dam. So yeah, that one was pretty cool. I buckled in tight and stayed totally professional for that, because that gig paid well, and you never know where that's going to lead to next. But you know, even driving home, I'm like, this is crazy. At the ECW Arena to announce these two in a main event, and the match was epic. It was so good. And yeah, that one that definitely stands out. And I mean, anytime, like I said, I got picked up by House of Glory right in their inception. And Amazing Red was always one of my favorite wrestlers. I mean, some of the stuff he was doing in the TNA pre-Impact Wrestling days, but in the TNA days, just stuff like that. And I caught a lot of his stuff on the independent scene. And he was 10, 15 years ahead of his time. The moves he was doing at the time, they're like, you know, pretty standard cruiserweight moves now. And I always really enjoyed announcing Amazing Red. And now that I get to work over there with him and Brian, who own the company. Yeah, it's definitely always a blessing if I get to announce a match of his. I mean, like I said, the list could go on and on. I think the first name I ever announced that really made me pop early in my career was Bret Hart was doing just an appearance, and he got on the mic to welcome everybody. And I remember giggling on the inside going, you know, I announced Bret Hitman Hart, and that was a pretty cool one. But I mean, anytime I get to announce any of these wrestlers, it doesn't have to be TV talent. There's so much hungry talent that's going to be on TV that just hasn't been put there yet. I mean, just so much energy, so much detail, so much enthusiasm, and so much passion that these independent workers put into it. Like you were just saying about Titan, that main event, two people that I'm very fond of, Anthony Gangone and Rick Recon, two guys that, you know, it's just a matter of time before they're on TV full time. And guys like that put so much pressure on themselves, and, you know, they're their own biggest critics. And no matter how many times people tell them, oh, you had a great match, they're always going to find something that they know that they could do better. And I think when a professional can break down their stuff and they can accept criticism and they can understand what they can do to make the next match better, that's called being a professional. And you're only as good as your last match. And you know, a lot of people get complacent and they're happy with where they're at, and that's good. But I think even me, every time I announce a show, no matter how good people tell me I do, I'll go back and I'll watch the matches and I'll find like a timing mechanism I think I could do better. And I keep it to myself, and I just try and, you know, focus on that for the next time. So I really just, you know, I'm humbled to be part of the business, and anybody that takes the pride in their craft and really strives to want to be a professional, those are the people that, you know, really mean the most to me. And when I get to announce them, and then they even tell me, you know, private messages, hey, I really appreciated that entrance. I think you really enhanced my spot there. And, you know, that's really what I want as well. Because out of what do I want out of pro wrestling? I think everybody wants to get signed. Everybody wants to make that money. But if I can't get that, I want the respect of my colleagues. I like to go to any independent show, whether I'm booked or not, and people treat me with respect because they know that I've brought something to events in the past. And yeah, I like that feeling.
I totally get what you're saying on that. And last question, I know everybody always says, you know, that if they were, you know, being a ring announcer, they'd love to be a ring announcer in Madison Square Garden, or like when the Staples Center was still around out in LA, something of that nature. But for you, what would be your dream arena to ring announce in?
I mean, they're all pretty damn good, but honestly, I would love to announce in the Tokyo Dome, to be like an English-speaking representative ring announcer at the Tokyo Dome. It could be for New Japan. It could be for any Japanese-based promotion. But if I could share the same spotlight with some of the greatest Japanese talents in the world, I would love that. I mean, that's not solely where my goals are at. Like I said, I have a lot of goals. But, yeah, anything. And, of course, the Mecca, Madison Square Garden, that would be amazing. But you know what? And on the independent scene, the mecca of independent pro wrestling, Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. I've never announced in that building. So that's the mecca. That's the Madison Square Garden of the Indies. So one day my goal is to announce in that building, because a million promotions run there and I've never announced there once in 12 years. And it kind of just bites me right in the rear.
Yeah, I've been in that building quite often, and
I'm sure everybody has. I've been there once with my wife to check out an event just as spectators to support the boys and girls. But yeah, and that was the night where Teddy Hart was there. So if Teddy's in the building, it's always going to be an entertaining night.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But again, David, I appreciate you hopping on with us tonight. This has been fun. Definitely going to have you on again.
Awesome.
Down the road. Before I let you go, though, anything you'd like to promote, any events you have coming up, where can people find you on social media? Go right ahead.
Is this airing live or is this taped and it's going to be
taped and going to be put up probably tomorrow or within the next couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, come support House of Glory Wrestling Beginnings, a Friday night event, February the 4th, 8 p.m. bell time. We're back home in Jamaica at the House of Glory Wrestling Arena, the NYC Arena, hogwrestling.net for tickets and informations. It's called Beginnings is the name of the show. And it's going to be one heck of a night. If you haven't been to a House of Glory event, come check it out. And I'm sure we'll pay homage to the late, great Jay Briscoe at that event, former House of Glory Wrestling Tag Team Champion. And yeah, of course, like I said, Titan Championship Wrestling returns as well. I believe it's March the 24th from the Bayville EMS. We're going to be doing a joint show with Funhouse Wrestling, a benefit to raise money for cerebral palsy. That's going to be a fun event as well. Come check it out. And you can check out my Facebook page, David Adams, Instagram, David Adams here. Twitter, I don't really understand Twitter, but I have one because, everybody's got Twitter, and that handle is Voice of the Ring. But other than that, come see me at a show, come support indie wrestling, and remember, if you don't come to the shows, how is this sport ever supposed to keep evolving for the next 500 years?
I totally agree on that. But guys, definitely go check out David Adams. I put him on the echelon of ring announcers in the state of New Jersey.
Well, thank you.
And for David, I'm John. This has been a YouTube exclusive for the Around the Ropes podcast. Go hit the subscribe button for us. Definitely catch this video and any previous videos we have, including our past shows, which includes the show that you see right below our heads called the On the Ropes podcast. And we will see you guys on the next one.
And February 18th, AXW from the historic Hamburg Fieldhouse, AXWTIX.com. Get your tickets now.
What he said.
Thank you for having me. Peace out, everyone.